morning, Charlotte.
Well, good morning,
Charlotte
Jody.
Hoefer.
Hoefer.
German, I presume.
You're right. You're right.
And your relatives are, like grandfather, great-grandfather, were they from Germany?
Yes. My grandfather came to this country with the Franciscan Sisters, and they founded the hospital in Lafayette, Indiana, where I was born.
Oh, my heavens. You're a Hoosier by birth. There are not too many Hoosiers by birth. I think Hilda Marie was one. Seems to me. I think Sister Hilda Marie was born in Elkhart.
Yeah.
I may have the wrong one, but that's unusual.
Well, we didn't have any schools or in Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me congratulate you first of all, and thank you for your 70 years. 70 years of life as an Adrian Dominican sister.
Precious life.
Precious. I mean, isn't it amazing to hear those numbers?
Oh, it is.
And you had a wonderful celebration in May.
Right.
Right. With the 75. Do you have any plan for 75? There are many of our sisters who have.
Well, I'm in pretty good health, so
yes.
75 is, I think, is a possibility, but who knows?
Well, knowing that we cannot go step by step of your birth to this moment, what are some of the highlights, at least one or two major highlights in your life that were life-changing or aha for you?
Oh, I think, well, the call first, and see, I came to the prep school at 13. And
at age 13?
At age 13.
And where were your parents living at the time?
In Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
They had moved?
From Chicago, mm-hmm. Yes.
Lafayette to Chicago to east side of Detroit.
You're right.
Did you go to St. Ambrose?
No, St. Paul's.
St. Paul's.
Yes. But there was some opposition to my doing that. And so I made it a novena for the Feast of Pentecost. And on Pentecost, I knew I had to go to Adrian. And my mother stopped crying, and the sisters took me to Adrian, and because I think they noticed something, and they stopped opposing what I was wanting to do.
So this was after 8th grade?
Right.
And were there several others, young women, that had braved this?
Oh, well, there were 30 that came that June. But, as you know, I think maybe 10 entered.
Yes,
and,
finally, yeah.
And then
But that was like having a high school class of 30.
Oh, yes.
Who was your director?
Sister Corinne. Yeah, was my director.
But going back to grade school, there must have been a sister or two that really influenced you as far as moving toward the Adrian Dominicans.
Oh, yes, Sister Marie was very influential in my wanting to be an Adrian Dominican.
And was she one of the sisters that brought you to Adrian?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And you never regretted that move?
No. For a time, I felt that I lost my childhood. But through the years, I've come to understand that I can offer my childhood, mm-hmm. and have done so.
Mm-hmm. And what about brothers and sisters?
I have one sister, and I had a brother, but he died in a pedestrian accident. And then while I was, my mother came to my reception very pregnant with my brother, my youngest brother.
Well, she
Yeah.
had to have one to take your place.
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So he's still with you today, your
Oh,
brother?
yes,
Oh,
yes, yes.
Was he delighted with your move to Adrian almost a year ago now?
Oh, yes.
That's great.
He's happy about that.
And are you?
Yes, I
Yes.
am. I am. It was a good move.
And it's peaceful in Regina, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And your
Yeah.
option of 3 places to eat.
Oh,
Your 3
yes.
dining rooms. Where else?
I-
You have
I-
such luxury.
Yeah.
And you don't have to cook your own meal.
That's wonderful.
Yes, yes. So besides that beautiful call to the congregation, you said there were a few other highlights.
Oh, yes. But probably the biggest and the most life-changing was the summer I spent in Sedona, Arizona.
And how
Yeah.
did the word Sedona even, or the place Sedona even come to your recollection?
Well, my friend Maria Riley had been there the summer before, and she wrote to me, and she said, "Charlotte, this is your cup of tea. You need to come. We need to come." She wanted to come with me.
Is that Maria Maulis?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So did you?
Yes, we went the next summer, and I came away from Sedona resolving on lengthy prayer every day, and I felt God was asking me to be more directly involved in helping people encounter God. So with that in mind, I had all kinds of plans. I was going to stop teaching math. I was going to start teaching theology and all that. But eventually, Rosemary came to visit us, and
Rosemary
Ferguson.
The prioress, Rosemary
Yes, the
Ferguson.
prioress. She came to visit us and shared about her retreat, and then I shared about mine. And
Visiting you where? Where were you at this time?
Tampa Catholic, Tampa, Florida.
With Julie Sullivan, Sister Julie
Oh
Sullivan?
yeah, Julie was the principal.
Yeah.
Well, and I was the superior. You know. Only it was redefined my role
Yeah.
and
A transition time.
it was and
So Rosemary came and she had just made a retreat.
yeah, she made a 30-day in Guelph and
That's what, Ontario?
Ontario.
Mhm.
That's right. And I talked about my experience with Rosemary, and she encouraged me to, if, you know, I knew somebody that could profit from that experience, to encourage them to seek it. And, but, you know, I would be very slow to do that. But it happened that Rosemary sent me a letter in May of that year and inviting me to study spiritual direction.
Oh my.
And
Well, what did your heart sing at that moment?
well, I felt God was saying, you know, you have your plans, but this is what I want.
Oh my.
And so I said yes.
How
And
providential.
it was life-changing all the way around. And I am so grateful.
So that must have been in the early 70s.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So, you know, when you think back, that's almost 40-some years of helping people to find their God. Not your God, but their God.
That's
Yeah.
right, that's
Mhm.
right.
So where did you go for this training?
Went to the Center for Religious Development in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And
Do you want to take a break for some water? I do. Is there something in the air?
I don't know what it is.
Oops, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. I just...
oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Did you hear me?
Mm-hmm. So, do you want some paper towels?
Oh, no, this will dry quickly. The only thing I'm concerned about is my book.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what is. Well, that was a nice refreshment.
I bet.
So we left off about where you went.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
All the way to Boston.
That's right. And I went with Carol Johannes, and we studied for 3 years. We only thought it was going to be 1 year, but it was 3 years.
Oh, my.
But
After all your study with math and enough of that higher education.
Yeah, exactly. And then I went to Orlando to start a center there, which eventually did get started, but that
In a
was
spiritual center or a retreat center?
yes, Sunbury Spirituality Center eventually took form. I began it, but I knew I was not going to be able to see.
Were there any retreat centers there in
No,
Orlando at the time?
No retreat centers,
Oh.
no Catholic colleges, no seminaries.
Oh.
So the bishop felt that they needed a center, and so I set about trying to get it done. But then Carol Johannes was elected prioress, and she invited me to join the mission service team.
And what did that involve?
The mission service team was a resource to the General Council, and we each had an area that the mission groups were just beginning, and so I visited groups, and we did faith sharing, and to try to get the groups to be cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, that was a challenge and probably very interesting too.
It was.
To meet
it
all the
was.
sisters.
Well, and I traveled from coast to coast and shore to shore.
Oh, my. You really got to know the
Oh,
congregation.
absolutely, absolutely. But one of the things that came out of that, it was, I knew that Carol wanted some kind of formation for spiritual directors, and so that there would be competent directors available to the sisters and whoever else. So that led to the founding of the Center for Religious Development.
Were there any other such institutions around focusing on spiritual direction in the Michigan area?
I think about the same time I opened the center, Columbiere opened an internship program, and
Is that still running?
well, it is at Manresa, but it's a different kind of direction that they're about. It's more academic and not as experiential as we wanted for our interns.
What do you mean by experiential?
Well, spiritual direction, I think, should focus on the person's religious experience, their experience of relating to God, and that by listening and helping them to clarify their experience and you know, what are you being called to do in the light of that experience?
In other words, not to define their experience for them.
Oh, no,
Yes,
no,
yes.
no.
Because that would be a temptation, wouldn't
Oh,
it?
it would,
Yes.
and it is a temptation. The person who is, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
the person who is now doing the internship program said she tried some of the directors that had been trained elsewhere, and she said they kept trying to tell me what to do, and that's not the direction I'm used to, and so she would discontinue.
How did you get people interested in coming to be? I mean, you're talking about not only religious men and women, but we're talking about lay people also, correct?
That's true, but word gets around. That's one shortcoming of the center. We were not good at advertising, and
Well, you probably didn't have time.
But when Joanne Podlucky became the director, see, she's in communications, and she did a marvelous job. But our limit for a group was 12, and we at one time we had 3 programs running, and 12 people in each program. So, but we started out having a full year, full-time program. And at the end of, about 8 years, we decided there weren't any people.
Yeah.
And so the Sisters of St. Joseph helped us redesign the program so it could be part-time. And then we had 12 people for
Immediately.
several years in every program. And we were running 3 at that point. So I think word gets around. That's all I can say.
Well, when you think back, it's quite amazing the number of men and women that pass through that program, a Center of Religious Development.
It is, and you know, Bill Berry said to me, you know, the Center for Religious Development in Cambridge is no more. And he said, you have survived.
That's in Boston, right?
Well, yes, that's it. And then several programs have gone by the way. But I think it's a formation program. It's not an academic program, although there is a component that's academic. But it's a formation room. They are becoming someone.
Does any person come to mind without mentioning their name of what growth you saw and what potential you saw in them as they were going through the program and what they're doing now?
Well, probably, yeah.
I mean, you can mention the name if you wish.
Oh, yeah, well, Suzanne Eichhorn is a Grand Rapids Dominican, and she was the director at DeWitt, the retreat house there. And
That's right above Lansing, isn't it?
That's
in
right.
Michigan.
That's right. And so, in fact, we started the 1 year or 2 year program in DeWitt at her invitation, and
Did she take the program?
sure, she was in the second group.
Oh, God bless her.
Anyone that has joined the staff has had to have gone through the program, And we've all agreed that that's necessary. I believe it's unique.
Well, it feels like it. And then your affirmation and confirmation from the Cambridge priest. Were they Jesuits?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
That has been a real privilege to.
Has it been difficult for you personally to let go of that ministry?
I really haven't let go of it. The internship program I have,
Yes,
yes. But we've had competent people, and we've had some problems, but we've weathered them. And it just seems to me God protects the center. When I think we're going to close, and along comes somebody to help us.
Where is it located now?
At Mercy's, at Mercy Center now, but the internship program is at St. Paul's of the Cross in Livonia, Michigan.
Yes. It's generous of them to provide that space.
Oh, and it is.
And access is easy.
Yeah, well,
Freeways and all.
Faith, who is one of the instructors, has an office at St. Paul of the Cross, so it was real easy to do it that way. And, but
A question about your transition from letting go of that center. You've also had let go of some of your favorite pets too, haven't you?
oh, you know about our cats.
I mean, that's very hard, isn't it, to let...
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It is very hard. But fortunately, my sister-in-law took them. She only had 3 cats, so she took our 2. And we've been back to see them. Of course, I visit my brother, and they're still very dear to our heart.
Somewhere along the line, you were early on, as a teacher, assigned to Albuquerque, weren't you?
I was.
Yes.
I was.
Lucky you to be in that environment.
Oh, it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of my favorite missions. I missed it the most when I got changed
Who
from
who were the sisters you lived with?
Oh, well, Lourdes was the principal.
Well, that's a joy in itself.
It was. She was a wonderful
my.
principal.
And a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Irene Marie Carrick was there.
Oh, my.
Yeah, lovely person.
Yes.
Nolita. Nolita was our senior citizen, but she was dear. She used to talk to the pastor's sister, she who knew no English, and Nolita who knew no Spanish. But they would talk away.
Did you have any women enter while you were from
Oh
the area?
yes. Luby Perea and her sister Mary Stella Perea, and Odelia Romero,
Oh, yes.
and
Who's now Marie?
there were some that came and didn't stay.
Mhm.
Maybe 1 or 2.
And Maria's with us today, Maria Romero.
That's right.
Yes. Have you had a
Oh,
chance
yes,
to visit with
yes. We
Yes.
have chatted.
her? Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, would you please, somewhere along the line you met, I presume in Boston, met Marilyn Burnett.
Oh, yes, yes. Marilyn lived at the convent where we stayed. And I know when we asked to come, she spoke up for us. And Marilyn and I became very good friends.
She was a St. Joseph nun, wasn't she?
St. Joseph of
And
Boston.
she's now an Adrian Dominican.
That's
Yes.
right. I said to her once, Marilyn, when are you going to join us? Never. I will die a sister of St. Joseph of Boston.
I hope she hears this interview.
She will.
Yes. She's now deep in the heart of Texas, isn't she?
Arizona.
Oh, Arizona, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what was your journey after you left Boston with how did you keep in contact with Marilyn?
Well, Marilyn eventually got permission to minister outside of Boston, and she was invited to come to St. John's in Ypsilanti.
Well, you can't get any closer to Adrian.
No. Well, that was another, Carol Johannes was elected prioress, and then she invited me to join the mission service team from Florida.
And here's Marilyn.
And Marilyn was there. We were all within about 60 miles of each other.
Oh, my.
And the chances of that happening are...
Unusual.
Yeah.
Well, before we close, I'm wondering if you have any words of spiritual wisdom for our listeners. We have not only our sisters and associates, but I know our dear former members view our interviews, as well as a lot of interesting people who tell us they so enjoy these.
I just want to express my gratitude to Rosemary for inviting me. That was life-changing, and I am so grateful to have this ministry. It's not one that I would choose, but
as Marie Riley said, this is for you.
Oh, yeah, this is your cup of tea.
Yes, I mean, they both recognized that in you. What a gift.
Yeah. And I just am so grateful for all the people I have worked with. It's been such a privilege to walk with people.
And a holy, holy time.
It has been.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to say one thing, would be to I believe all growth happens in relationship and comes with sharing, and that's to talk to God as you
What a friend.
everything
Mm-hmm.
to be as transparent with God as you're able, and with other people.
Well, I'm grateful for your transparency.
Oh.
And again, gratitude. I'm sure everyone in our congregation joins me in thanking you for your 70 years of beautiful, beautiful life among us and your beautiful presence in all your ministries.
Well, thank you.
Yes.